What's up, guys? Welcome back. I am Lieutenant Nathaniel Flint of the Landship Scorpios, and today we're talking about starter steampunk costumes. In the spirit of Halloween that'll be coming up, I wanted to talk about your starter steampunk costumes. Where should people begin? What is the bare minimum in order to start having a steampunk costume? Some cost effectiveness, things of that nature. So I'm hoping to keep the video short, so let's jump right in. To start, we will talk about the barest of barest minimums. Everyone always talks about the steep price of steampunk costumes, of cosplays. When you look up steampunk stuff, it can be very daunting. So let's talk about the barest of barest minimums. You are going to a steampunk event. This is your first time. This might be your first time attempting a costume, and you don't have a budget. You don't have a choice. What is the barest bare bones you can do and still consider your costume to be steampunk? Well, first off, we're gonna start off with your shirts. If you are doing the barest of barest minimums, you're going to want a button-down shirt. It can be short-sleeved, long-sleeved, whatever you want. You can do a button-down. I often do button-down shirts where I roll up the sleeves. I think that is a good look. You're gonna wanna start there. It can work as an adventurer. It can work as a librarian. It can work as high class. It's very, very simple. You're gonna start there. Most people already have a button-down shirt of some sort. If you don't have one, they're relatively cheap to get. You can thrift them quite easily. And the best part is even if your budget is not your own and you rely on your parents or you rely on friends or a spouse to help you with your costuming, a button-down shirt is not very hard to get. It also works unisex, male, female, or non-binary. A button-down shirt is a good base to start with. Next, we'll talk about pants. If you are doing other things, these rules can be tweaked, and we'll talk about that at the end. But for pants, you're going to want jeans or you're going to want slacks. You are not going to want shorts or cargo pants or other things if you can avoid it. Jeans work because jeans and the denim material were used in the 1800s. Jeans are very good working cloth. They are very durable. They could be used in multiple ways. They were used in factories, on the railroads, cowboys, everything. They were very durable material for the working man. So jeans work. Jeans look good on male and female alike. Most people own jeans to some degree, and if you need to, they're thriftable and they're relatively cheap to buy. A nice pair of jeans will last you a long time instead of a fast fashion pair, and it will look good enough. It is steampunk. Don't let anyone give you crap for it. Jeans work. That is a very good thing to do with your pants. And to round out this bare minimum work, you're gonna want a vest of some type. Whatever you can, a vest that fits, one that buttons up in the front, bare minimum, and it works. You now have a bare minimum steampunk costume. This will work going to your first event. This will pass if you're trying out a character or something. It works for male and female. It's bare minimum and you'll look fine. A lot of people get very worried that they're not dressed up enough or that they will stick out. This is the bare minimum. It's very cost effective and it will work. If you are worried about your first costume or cosplay in steampunk, this is the bare minimum you get and you will be fine. I promise you, you're fine. You will fit in, people will like it, and it's a good jumping off point for other things as you start to develop your costume and gather things throughout the years. Next, when you have this base, pants, shirt, vest, you're gonna start adding some accessories. Adding it onto this bare template, you still have the world as your oyster. You can go any direction you want with this bare bone template. So me personally, I run World Hatstery. I do things on this channel. You know that I'm gonna tell you to get a hat. A hat is the next defining thing that will start to put you aside from steampunk. It's relatively cheap to get a cheap top hat. You can get cheap newsboys cap or flat cap. It's pretty easy to get, say, a fedora or a trilby. You can get a bowler or a derby. You can get all these very simplistic hats. You can get a fez. There's so many hats that will start to turn it into a costume and start setting you apart from other steampunks. You can start seeing it more and more with Spirit of Halloween, and a lot of these costuming things are now selling cheaper and cheaper top hats and stuff, and it's very good to put your sliding scale on. If you have more funds, you can get nicer hats or different hats. If you are really lacking, it's really easy to find a cheap alternative of a top hat, bowler. You can get some costuming pieces, or you can just get a flat cap. Those are usually not going to break the bank on you. It's very easy to start off in. Next, I would get a tie, something around the neck. This is also very easy and unisex. Nice piece of jewelry, a nice metal piece, bow ties, regular tie. You can usually get them patterned, so you can find a really cool looking, maybe even a little brassy pattern to let it pop. These are very easy, very cost effective to get in. It's a very easy thing to kind of throw on. It's usually, you can put a little dash of color. You can make it match your vest. This is a very good place to start going towards that'll still be cost effective as you're building up your steampunk costume. And lastly, for this part 2, I want to talk about boots and shoe wear. Now this is kind of part 1 as well, but in all honesty, most people aren't going to be looking at your feet. And if you're talking about getting steampunk like pictures taken or whatever, the feet will oftentimes be cut out. And stage 2 though is where you're going to want to start looking into dress shoes, combat boots, maybe some costuming boots, looking at some pirate versions, maybe some spats onto your already work boots or something to start turning them towards a steampunk aesthetic. Spats and gaiters are a good way. You can put those over even your sneakers. You're gonna wanna try to get away from like tennis shoes or something. And if you're gonna use sneakers, you're gonna want something darker in tone. You're not gonna want colorful or neon colors. But you can still get away with it with steampunk as long as you kind of start dressing it up. Stage 2 is where you're really gonna wanna start pushing that towards a steampunk aesthetic. Shoes are usually, depending on the quality of the shoe, can start getting expensive, but they're a necessary thing if you want higher quality. If you're going to, say, Watch City Steampunk Festival, you're going to be doing a lot of walking, so you're going to want a nice pair of boots, you're going to want a nice pair of shoes, you're going to want dress shoes that fit for your feet and work really nicely, so it can kind of start getting a little expensive, but also, 9 times out of 10, unless you're getting the big pirate boots or the big steampunk buckle boots, you're probably not going to be using these just for steampunk, so it's a good investment to other parts of your life. And I put it right here in stage 2. It's a good thing to start looking at as you start to fill out your costume. I also want to mention your starter goggles. It's a good thing in this stage to get a starter pair or make your own pair. Goggles is where a lot of steampunks direct you for your first steampunk build. If you're crafty, they're pretty easy to throw together and make. They're pretty easy to go, if you have better skill, you can make them a lot better. But even low skill like me, just making like the bottle cap steampunk goggles with like the leather strap that goes around a hat. This is a very easy thing. You can have them rested around your neck if they don't work as good on your face, but like they look good, and it's a very huge staple of steampunk is having your goggles. So this is a very good entry point to kind of get into that. And of course, you can get them decently cheap as an accessory anywhere goggles are sold. Now we're on to stage 3. Stage 3 is gonna take time or money. From here on out, when I say and I suggest things, keep in mind that you're going to want to be thinking about whether or not you're going to be making or buying. A lot of these things are going to be harder to find, they're going to be expensive, they're going to be whatever, but they're usually your next steps to continuing your steampunk costume. These are getting a little bit more into the expense kind of range, and it's all based on taste. Where you want to take your steampunk persona, where you want to go in a direction of steampunk Iron Man or steampunk Sherlock Holmes, these pieces are going to start to define your steampunk look and your character. They're going to be more specific to you. There's a lot of things that can fit in this, but the important things is these are all definitely going to set you apart from steampunk. Part 3 is things like props. Props is going to be big. Do you want the big steampunk gun? You're going to have to buy it from somewhere and it's going to be expensive. Or you're going to have to make it yourself. Even buying it, we'll call it buy it on the cheaper end. These are the ones that you kind of look at and you're like, yeah, they're steampunk and they look kind of cool. But I saw this person with something that blew me away. You're going to end up paying a pretty penny for what that person spent hours building or spent years building, or they bought from an artist for a pretty penny. These are things like your Nerf guns that have been repainted and not really modified. These are like the squirt guns that are repainted. They're gonna cost, or you're gonna make them yourself. And that's gonna depend on your arts and crafts skill level. For instance, I am absolutely terrible crafter, so most of my stuff I've bought, and that's okay. That doesn't make me less of a steampunk. It just makes me less of an artist, I guess. But I definitely pay for it. That means that it's taken years to get costuming pieces that I have. And that's okay. Keep in mind, this could also be your first steampunk backpack. It's not just guns. A lot of steampunks have the big backpacks, wing packs, jet packs. This is where you can start looking into those. And this is where I put steampunk dresses as well. Most dresses that are gonna look really good are gonna be a little bit more on the expensive side, or they take a lot of crafting time to make. Some of you out here are gonna have this. I'm making a steampunk costume. This is back at level 1 for me. It could very well be something you get first. Just know that it's in level 3. This is where your starter corset will end up being, if you get a costuming corset, if you get a really cheap one for your first one. This is where that'll end up being, is taking your first big steps in the steampunk direction and putting that added flair. Victorian and Edwardian dresses, the corsets and stuff. Most dresses and corsets look amazing, but if you're gonna buy them, they can sometimes there's a cost factor to it. Cheaper stuff, you get what you pay for. It's gonna look a little cheaper. It's gonna be cheaper. If you get from Spirit of Halloween, the steampunk dress, to certain people, it's going to look very cheap. However, it's still great. You're gonna look good. And if you're gonna make your own, sometimes it's not gonna look as good as someone else's, but you're gonna look good and you're gonna look steampunk with it. That's why I put them in stage 3. Most Edwardian Victorian dresses and the corsets are definitely a huge step in that steampunk direction. This can also be hats if you're getting a more high quality hat. If you're getting any hat that is decorated steampunk, a lot of the top hats will have the brass metal pieces in, the odometers or speedometers or like gauges and things. They can be very expensive and very heavy. I'll put those in stage 3. You're kind of taking that first big step directly towards steampunk. This is also a great point to up your goggle game. There's plenty of amazing goggles for sale in places like Historical Emporium. A lot of vendors end up selling a little bit better looking goggles. This is a good point to invest in if you're a creator. Make your goggles look bigger, better, adding lights, all this kind of stuff. This is a good stage where you're investing in that goggle look and going to the next step. I would say this is around the part 3 of that. Things are starting to get a little bit more pricier, but they're starting to be your signature look. Also want to add in here, this is space like getting a better vest, getting a better shirt, getting a better tie, getting better pants, getting historical pants, getting historical shirts, things of that matter. Just kind of, again, that direction in a more steampunk way while getting away from our base look and kind of upping that game. Stage 3 is also the steampunk coat. This is where if you want a nice coat, this is where it's time to get it. Your nice double-breasted trenches, your wool coats, your militaristic captain coats. Maybe you get one that's leather, maybe you get a sleeveless leather coat or something. You're getting it, you're gonna be paying for it, but this is the time where people start getting their steampunk coats. A lot of steampunk costumes just end up looking so good with that one little bit thrown over. Your flight jackets, you get it. That's a stage 3 of a costume. You're really starting to get into the steampunk feel and go in that good direction of starting to up your costume. And last but not least, we have stage 4, the iconic piece. This is expensive. This is gonna take a lot of time for you to make. This is either huge effort and time, or this is very expensive, you bought it. These are your iconic pieces. These are the things that people just talk about. This is someone who made the steampunk diver suit, and it's the full diving suit. That is so iconic. That is not an off-the-rack item. You are now in to steampunk. You have upped your game. That's a big deal. This is someone with the amazing jetpack. This is the wingsuit that comes out and works. This is the gun with light. You're gonna notice a lot of electronics are gonna end up being in. This is the bigger, better. This is the person who wears a kilt, because that's a big, expensive piece, or it's gonna take a long time for you to make, and very specific skill set to make a kilt. This is the people who just go above and beyond. This is usually when you start getting people being envious and going, ooh, that's a good steampunk costume. Look at that dress. Look at that armor. Look at that this. Look at that. These are high effort, high skill, or whatever. These are you're now in steampunk. For many of us, like me, this has taken years to get to this point. This is the end game. This is being a steampunk. You have your own flavor. You have the big, massive, amazing captain's coat made by that coat vendor who just makes amazing steampunk coats, and it's so expensive. This is you learned leatherworking and you made your armor and your big steampunk arm with all the gadgets and gizmos and brass pieces. This is the epitome of what you did, or this is the money. It's not impossible for someone off the street to do this, but just know that this level is what you're working towards, and it's not expected out of a new steampunk. This is things that when steampunks look into it and they start going, ooh, this is so expensive. Yes, this is where it gets expensive, is this stage 4. This could be going extremely historically accurate with a little bit of anachronisms here and there. This could be you are a costume piece, a lot of leather, a lot of lights, a lot of things. This is where you get that iconic look from. These are the amazing dresses. This is when people start actually going into costume contests, and it's at the end. You're free. You're no longer at a beginner steampunk costume. So what should you take away from this? Well, everyone starts somewhere, and there is a very low bar of effort, of money, of time for getting into steampunk. It's okay if you're at level 1 and you go to events like that. I know several photographers who never leave level 1 or kind of just start dabbling into level 2, and they just aren't that interested. You'll notice that the bar is decently low for starting your first steampunk costume. It's accessible, they're unisex, and then as you move on, you start adding things that you want. Do you want your steampunk helicopter jetpack, and you do not care about the hats or the ties or anything? It's very easy for you to have that base button-down pants or whatever, and then a prop that blows people away. It's very easy if that's where you want to focus your energy. If you want to do steampunk soldier and you just don't care about all the other bells and whistles, you want an awesome looking gun, you want your little hat to let people know of what army or what era you're in, you want some goggles, that's you. You've got a very small, easy base to go off of, and then you have your ability to direct your energy where you want it to go. If you're having trouble thinking about how to do a steampunk rainbow dash or a steampunk horse from Centaur World or something, and you just have this character that you're like, I don't know where to begin, there's a very easy baseline that you can get into and start building up from there. It's very accessible, and no steampunk should give you a lot of crap for it. And with that, I hope this video was nice and short. We're going to be doing another one where we'll talk a little bit about where to look for steampunk Halloween costumes, so be on the lookout for that if it's not out already. I hope this helped. I hope it lets you know that it is easy to get into steampunk. It's easy to look good in a steampunk costume when you go to steampunk events, or if you're just going to a Comic-Con or something. It is very easy to get into that. You don't need all the bells and whistles to jump in. It is not that expensive. It's very easy. And I hope that I've helped some newbies kind of know where to direct their energy when you're first starting out. Everyone wants a nice hat, everyone wants the big prop or the backpack or your tea set or something that'll blow everyone else away, but that stuff takes time, effort, or money. And somewhere on that triangle, you're gonna have to pay one of them. So it's nice to know where the baseline is for just jumping in and joining us all at an event. So that way you're free to put your energies and your birthday money where you need to put them. If you like this video, please give me a like down below and subscribe for more steampunk content here at Landship Scorpios. Do feel free to check out my other steampunk videos that I have. If you have tips or tricks for thrifting, for buying, where to go, what to look up, and what people should do, let me know in the comments down below and help us all out. If you're a newbie and this video didn't answer a question that you specifically have, ask it down below. I'll do my best to try to get to it and try to help you out. Also, do check out other resources on this topic. I know my friends Citizens of Antiford have talked about beginner steampunk costumes and one of their Antiford on Air. So go ahead and check that out as well. And go to an event and ask around. Steampunks are more than happy to help you out, give suggestions for kind of what you're going for, and to even point you in the right direction about where they like to look and shop and get their steampunk needs. I wish you guys all luck for this Halloween, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.